let's talk about some of the top myths. And first off, the idea that that one last bit of plaque clogged your arteries and caused the heart attack.
Well, I thought in medical school, and I was taught that it's a plumbing problem, that you have a pipe and it fills up with cholesterol. You have one little spot left. You have a double cheeseburger and it knocks you off. That's not what happens. Whether you have a 20% plaque or a 90% plaque, if that plaque gets irritable and inflamed and ruptures, kind of like a zit popping, then all your platelets, whose job in your blood is to fix cuts, they rush in and pop that and fix that little pop, but they overreact and fill the entire pipe. And that pipe being blocked prevents oxygen from getting to the heart. That's what causes the heart attack. So it's inflammatory plaque rupture which causes it. It's not a plumbing problem. And that's a completely new understanding of what heart disease is and what heart attack is.
Thank you. We're going to dive into inflammation more in a little bit. So let's go to the next myth. Number 2, high cholesterol levels cause heart disease.
Well, we found, based on the current studies, that half the heart attacks happen in people with normal cholesterol. Half the people with high cholesterol will never have a heart attack. What we have to do is fractionate the cholesterol into its smallest pieces. And what we find is that some people have small sticky particles called small dense LDL and lipoprotein A. I encourage everyone to ask their doctor, if their doctor even knows about this, to fractionate their cholesterol and look at their individual risk. Because, Michael, if we have two people that have high cholesterol of 250 and high bad LDL cholesterol of 150, they both qualify for medication. But one may have the good small particles and one may have the small bad sticky particles, and so they have totally different risks. And in medicine, we're treating everybody the same. It's a bell-shaped curve of average. We regress you as a unique individual to the mean of a population because it's easy for me. Put you in the population curve, check the box, give you medicine, kick you out, see you next year. You want your doctor to figure out, where's your sweet spot on that curve? How do I treat you as a unique individual? And I like the Grand Canyon analogy, if I may share this with you. You can be on the south rim of the Grand Canyon or the north rim of the Grand Canyon. You're still technically in the Grand Canyon, but isn't your view different? So where you are on this bell-shaped curve, on the low end or the high end or right in the middle, your health risk is markedly different, even though you're normal. And normal in America today is diabetic and obese.
And it's crazy. So I'm the author of with my wife, of Barefoot Running and Barefoot Walking.
Great.
And it's fascinating.
Love it.
Thank you. It's fascinating when you look at an anatomy, a chart of anatomy, male anatomy, female anatomy, it doesn't matter. And you will see that the big toe is pointed inward from a bunion, which is actually caused by that cadaver having worn modern shoes for their 50, 70, 80 years. But we consider that normal, but that's not natural.
Yes.
Completely.
Well,
go for it.
I love the work that you're doing, and the walking barefoot on the ground, living here in Jackson Hole, is such a grounding event. I tell all my patients to do that. There's something magic about being barefoot in our environment, not on concrete, not on asphalt, but on real ground, and it does make a difference. And I think you really shared a great message, Michael.
Thank you. So we covered myth number 2 on cholesterol. I think we covered number 3 on LDL and HDL because it's not just about that. But before we dive into myth number 4, why is the cholesterol myth too big to fail?
Well, the problem with it is that we want things easy. So for women, we take their total cholesterol, divide it by their good cholesterol, and give them a ratio. And based on that ratio, we predict their risk based on regression analysis of statistical models. Again, you don't want to be that person that's a statistic. And I don't treat ratios, I treat human beings. So we really need to personalize it beyond these. They talk about evidence-based medicine, and I think evidence-based medicine is a great start. But when I see someone, it's an N of 1. It's all about that one person in front of me that I need to care about.
So let's go from there. Myth number 4, fat is bad for your heart.
Well, not all fat is bad fat. There's good fats and there's bad fats. And that's one of the things I think everyone should learn. And, this whole factory farmed animal that we're doing with xenoestrogens, hormones, antibiotics, the feed that we're giving, there's a lot of bad fat in our environment right now in processed foods and in animal products. So you really need to learn about the good fats and the bad fats. And we're all fatheads. We need fat for our brain. we need cholesterol to be about 160 to make our hormones. So not all fat is bad. There's good fat and bad fat.
Excellent. I never expected that we'd be calling ourselves fatheads today. Myth number 5. If I consume less cholesterol, and this is something I did, I fought for this as a kid. I ate low fat, only no fat, no cholesterol. If I consume less cholesterol, I will be healthier.
Well, I had met Jim Fixx when I was a kid, who was a marathon runner that wrote the book on it, and he had normal
That's what
cholesterol.
I had my granola box with Jim Fixx on the back of it before he
Yeah,
died of a heart attack.
yeah. How unfortunate. And it just tells you Mark Twain said, it's not what you don't know, it's what you think you know that just ain't so.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of this stuff in medicine that we think we know, but it may not actually be true. So, again, cholesterol isn't evil. You need cholesterol to make your hormones. You need it for your nervous system, for your brain. And so there is a level of cholesterol that we all need to be in good balance.
Let's go from there to myth number 6. I'm going to put this a little bit differently. In
Sure.
Doc we trust. Modern medical treatments can fix your heart. Don't worry about it.
Well, I'm an internal medicine specialist. I ran the intensive care unit for years. I believe in medicine.
Mhm.
When I'm acutely sick with pneumonia, I will take the best antibiotic that fixes it.
Yeah.
So we've done a great job in modern medicine for acute care illness. It's fantastic. Our hospitals, our ERs, they do life-saving events every single day. Where it fails woefully is in the chronic illness model. We've been reduced to 7-minute visits with our doctor. They interrupt us within 11 seconds of speaking. The model is not conducive to approaching the system-based care we need for chronic illness. And our model fails miserably for chronic illness. And it's not the doctor's fault. They're not taught the skills they need. They're not taught a model. And we're not providing them an environment in which they can thrive delivering this kind of care.
So let's go from there to myth number 7. And this one, I don't know why, but it really personally drives me insane. Statin drugs are safe and will reduce heart attack risk for anyone who takes them.
Well, a lot of my friends and clients are shocked to know that I actually prescribe statin drugs. There are people that need them, and it's typically men that have known heart disease or have had a heart event. There is a mortality benefit that can prevent a future heart attack. It's small. There is a diabetes risk in about 9% of the men that take that drug, so you want to mediate everything else. I personally feel they have to be on coenzyme Q10 because it depletes your mitochondria of that. So there's other things you have to do besides just take the statin drug. And just because you're on the cholesterol drug doesn't mean that you can eat poorly. And that's another myth that a lot of patients fall into. Well, I'm taking the medicine so I can do whatever I want. It should be a part of a whole-based, integrative, holistic, functional program. So there is a role for statins. It doesn't look like they're very beneficial for women, especially, for sure for young women. And for older patients, both men and women, statin drugs may not be a good idea. There's a potential risk to dementia, depression, and there's a known risk to diabetes. These drugs do cause diabetes in at least 9% of men, and maybe up to 50% in postmenopausal women. So not all drugs are good, not all drugs are bad. You got to know who needs what in the right way, then balance the deficiencies that the medicine may cause.
Thank you. And going from there and diabetes, myth number 8, dieting is the key to reversing heart disease.
Well, I don't believe in diets because the first 3 letters are
Die.
Die.
Taught me that.
I believe in personalized nutrition plans. Number 1, what does your body need? And there are some food sensitivity tests that give you some insight into what foods may or may not be good for you. You can do an elimination diet so you can see how does your body feel when it gets rid of some things and add some things back. But in general, a lot of the food that's processed in our world today just isn't good for us. And you mentioned the fats. These foods that are processed to be low fats, the gluten-free foods that are super processed to be gluten-free, they use a lot of starches and dextrins and other chemicals that are actually worse for you than the original compound. So I think it behooves everybody, particularly those of us with children, to help figure out what foods help us thrive, heart and brain, and what foods may just not do well for us. And it's pretty easy to figure it out.
Awesome. And then myth number 8, I really like this one. Calories in equals calories out. It's all the same.
Well, I take care of a lot of professional Olympian athletes, and I had an argument with a dietitian. And for me, Michael, whether you're a MD, a DO, a chiropractor, a nutritionist, a physical therapist, a naturopath, I have no ego here. As long as you're doing good care and you care about your patients, I love that you're on our team. But we had a disagreement about calories in equals calories out. I think that's the myth perpetrated on women to make them feel bad about themselves. They go to the doctor, they're overweight. He says, eat less, exercise more, it'll magically be better. I'll see you next year. And they say this every year. Well, they took genetically identical mice, fed one mouse twice as much food, it got fat. Then they took the microbiome out of the thin mice, genetically identical, put it in the heavy mouse, and the heavy mouse got skinny. So we know that the microbiome, our bacteria, extracts different calories. That's just one example. Many women come in here, they know they have a thyroid problem. Their old ranges haven't been adjusted in most doctors' offices. Their temperature is 96 degrees, so that thermostat equation never will balance, and they can't ever lose weight. And it's because their thyroid's not working. So it's a lot more complicated than calories in, calories out. That's just a flat out myth perpetrated on women to make them feel bad about not losing weight.
It also makes me think of things like pink packets, anything that says 0 on it, or things that taste sweet but artificially are not, that we think are not doing anything to our metabolism.
And what did we just find out about artificial sweeteners? That the thing that makes diet soda diet actually is a hormone disruptor and makes you fat. So drinking diet soda actually makes you fat. It's just crazy. So again, it's not what we know, it's what we think we know.
I had a phenomenal heart healing time talking with Dr. Mark, and hope you did too. To hear more heart healing interviews, click here, subscribe below.